Welcome back to another episode of the TruTrade podcast. We wanted to go over our private client services. And, Brian, why don't you explain to these guys what our private client services are in comparison to our pro level platforms for Ripper One AI?
Yeah, so private client, we created this because we have a lot of, for those that want to push it further, right? Whether you're high net worth, you want to use your own cash, you want to have a way to put it to work, or you want to push prop to its limits, like 5-10 million plus in prop capital. So basically, just want to do it big, essentially, right? You don't have to be necessarily high net worth to use it, although most of the buyers are high net worth because the price point is obviously higher. But it's just mostly like the high-end extreme version of what TruTrade offers, right? And some of it, we have some customized services for certain products. So let's talk firstly about what that means for Ripper One AI, our most popular product, right? The chartless automation. So private client services, you get up to 15 systems, as we discussed previously. So during our last podcast, we took kind of like a little hiatus here, about a year ago, before we started, got back into making podcasts again. But basically, in that time, we've added another level to our product tiers. So before it was just prop, the base level. Pro was the top. Now it's the intermediate, in the middle, and now we have private client, which is the high end version of the product essentially. So Pro has the 10 systems. The lower level has 5 at the prop, and private client has 15 plus. At the time of scoring, there's 15, but we're adding more. So when you watch this, there may be 20, but private client will always be our top end version of whatever product it is that you're buying. Okay, so
and the systems, Brian. So explain to the guys what do you mean by systems?
Yeah, so systems is each system is a different rule-based algorithm that's trading your funds, whether it's prop or cash. So each system requires a separate account because they may be trading the same instrument at the same time in different directions, which would offset, right? So it'll hedge, but it won't offset if they're different accounts. So most people using private client have at least 15 plus prop accounts or more. A lot of private clients are trading 20, 40, 60, or even up to 100 prop accounts all at the same time on multiple servers. So you can scale this to huge numbers. So most of our private client packages, they do not have a limit on the amount of prop accounts you can have. So most of the smaller tiers, you can have up to 5 accounts, cash or prop, up to 10, 20 accounts max. Private client goes up from 40 to sometimes infinite number of accounts. So it allows you to scale to a high level. So the long-term value of private client is greater than the lower packages. Not everybody can afford it, obviously. So it's for those that can afford it and want to use it, and it's there. So you're just basically able to push everything to a much higher level. And also, there are some fundamental differences, too, in the software, which I wanted to elaborate on. So the prop version has the base AI engine. The Pro has an elevated version, and then the private client has a most advanced AI engine. So what that means is that there's more communication between account A and account B, so which we haven't probably covered in previous podcasts. I'll address this now. There's 2 things going on here. We have the optimization, so the AI is optimizing the parameters in real time based on the instrument, market volatility, and the system being used, right? But there's also what we call portfolio auto-balancing, which is a term that we coined. So what that means is that account A knows what account B is doing. So let's say account A is running the scalp, account B is running the trend. Both systems know what the other is doing. So that means that, for example, if you have a scalp, a trend, and a breakout system, they're all long the S&P 500, and then another system wants to go long the S&P, it's going to know that we already have too much exposure to the S&P to the long side, so it'll skip that trade, start looking for shorts, and start auto-balancing your portfolio. So if the market spikes up or down, you're going to get paid either way, right? We have exposure to both sides, at different ratios at all times.
And also, to kind of go over what Brian was just saying as well, you can also flip that around too. So if the market's going down that day or it's going to the downside, what Brian was just explaining, that also happens going to the downside. It also happens going up to the upside. It also happens where we have a market that's either flat, and a lot of times our strategies will work in a parallel market. So when we're trading consolidation, most of the time the market, I would say, 75% of the time it's in consolidation. I would say about 70%.
Yeah, it goes from high to low volatility.
Higher, low volatility. So our systems are very, very good at scalping inside of those positions, inside of those times where it's consolidating. So whether the market's running, we're taking advantage of that. When the market's running through the floor, we're obviously really taking advantage of that. I love trading shorts. Our platforms trade shorts. And for those who don't know what a short is, it's trading when the market is going to the downside, or that asset is going to the downside, not up. And either way, we're taking advantage of that. We're always exploiting price action. That's what our bots are fundamentally built around, is price action. So we're always taking advantage of that. But like what Brian was saying is, when we're trading multiple strategies at the same time, we're taking advantage of the markets, utilizing different strategies all simultaneously. Some strategies will trade to the upside, some will hedge with other assets, and some will only trade to the downside. Like Brian was explaining before, if y'all want to go to our prop podcast that we just launched a few weeks ago, we discussed on how bots our systems are trading synergistically together. So when we have systems, one will know what the other position's doing, and one will shut down, one will add to positions, one will unwind your position. So if you're going to the downside and you've just been killing it for the last hour, it'll unwind that position as it starts to unfold. So you're leaving most of your money in your pocket, and as the market starts to go against us, you're not gonna give it back.
Yeah. So basically, private client allows you to do everything at a higher scale. So you have more systems, more money in play. Also, you can have multiple servers. So depending on the product you're using, there isn't a limit to how many accounts you can have per server, like per VPS, which we've covered in other podcasts. So essentially, a private client, you can just scale to infinity. So basically, for those of you that have private client type of funds to purchase it, you want to buy that, you want to push it as far as you can go. And for the chart-based stuff, there's private client versions as well that just allow you to push it further. So private client is just basically like the most hardcore version of the stuff that we sell, and it allows you to just generate more income. So basically, it's like this. With the state of prop right now, which we covered in the previous podcast, it doesn't make sense to do this business at a low level. People are always telling me all the time, like, Brian, I want to start small. I'm just little old me. I want to start small. Why? What is the point of starting small when you can get access to $1 million in prop capital just as easily as $50,000, right? It's just an extra couple $1,000s in prop fees. You're trading $1 million versus $10,000. Why limit your income because you want to start small? There really is very little difference in terms of risk and cash outlay. This is a common thing. People think because they're new, they should start small to see how it works first before they go all in. This doesn't make any sense with prop now because, like I said before, your typical standard prop count's 50K, right? A lot of prop firms let you have up to 20 or more prop accounts per tax ID. So if you have a personal, like your own EIN number, or for your business or your personal accounts, you can do both. So you can have basically the scarcity mentality is not really applicable to prop. You can have literally hundreds of prop accounts with enough entities right now. So this idea that I want to come in and start small, I'll just get a 50K account, then once it starts paying, then I'll spend. No, just come in, get at least 20 50K prop accounts, get $1 million plus in prop cash, and just let that be. Like a lot of guys come in and get 5 million plus in prop cash right out of the gate. And some private client that we were just talking about allows you to do that. Most of our private client packages will fund 3 million plus in prop cash within typically a week or less, right? So with prop, with our software, with prop plus private client allows you to just do this on a massive scale right out of the gate. So basically what I was trying to convey is that don't come in a lower package. Let's say you have tons of money, right? And you're already doing really well and you want to just hit the ground running with trading, right? And generate some real income. Don't come in and buy the prop edition because you want to see how it works first, or you just want to take it slow because you're new. You're equating you being new to futures of being new to automation. That's giving you apprehension and making you want to start smaller. But we have a money back guarantee of funding if you have quick fund added to your accounts. So there's no need to come in slow. If you have the cash to come into private client, by all means, come into private client and make the most of it.
Yeah, and private client's not just about trading a lot more money as well. It's also utilizing the technology that's built inside of a private client platform.
The private client, you have more accounts in play, right? So you have more capital you can put to work within the limits of your license key. And you also have a more advanced AI engine. So the private client is more adept at trading multiple accounts and communicating between the accounts, which we call a bot network. So you probably heard the term bot network technology, which we coined. And what that means is that bot A knows what bot B is doing, bot system, whatever word you want to use, right? Call it whatever you want. But we have a platform where we have a bunch of interconnected systems that are using different accounts, and each account knows what the other one's doing and will adapt accordingly based on the profit and loss of that particular account in real time, what the market's doing, and then new trades that come up. So let's say, for example, you're running the trend bot and it gets a long trigger on the S&P 500, right? The ES, for example. But before it takes that trade, it's going to check what all the other exposure is on the ES and all the other accounts on that server. So if there's already too much exposure to the S&P to the long side, it's going to skip that trade. So this, because think about it, right? If you have 10 different systems, 10 different accounts, but they're all long the same thing at the same time, you're actually overexposed. So you may be diversified from a system standpoint, but from an exposure standpoint, you have too much exposure in one direction to one instrument. So particularly the private client version is very skilled at auto balancing. So it's more adept at doing that. All of our systems are very high end. They're all exceptional at what they do. But as you increase the number of accounts at play, the private client steps that particular auto balancing functionality up a level.
Yeah, Brian, so you want to go over the systems that the private client provides versus, let's say, the pro version or the prop version?
Yeah, so to be clear, each version has new systems, and it also has the same systems that were in the lower version. So the prop has the base 5 systems, the pro has the prop systems plus 5 more, and the private client has the pro systems plus 5 more. So up to 15. Again, at the time of this recording, this is July 2025. So when you're watching this, it may be 20 or 30 systems, right? So keep in mind that technology moves very, very quickly. So this is why we don't shoot podcasts every 5 minutes, because it's the technology moves so quickly. It's better to give it more time and just space it out so that we have major updates. That's why we're shooting right now. Last time we shot content was a year ago, right? So in other words, technology keeps moving along rapidly. And with private client, you have two main things. You can put more money to work, and you have better technology to manage that extra money better, right? For better communication between the accounts, give you a smoother equity curve. It's easier to run a larger scale operation.
By the end of 2025, this year, we're going to have some amazing launches that are coming out. They're going to be groundbreaking. We're first to the market with that, as we normally are. But this is going to be a game changer for sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the private client. I don't have anything else to really say.
No, I think we covered it. I mean, private client is, just shoot us a call. We'll talk about if you need some more information. Go ahead and go to our website, TruTrade.io, TruTrade.io, and fill out the form. Brian and I would love to have a conversation with you. Sometimes it takes us 2 or 3 days, guys, to get back to you. We're really overloaded, and we're the type of company where we just don't hire a huge sales staff. We're not sitting here just trying to sell just a million pieces of our software. We want to know who's buying the product, if it's going to be effective for that person, and if they're going to buy the right product. A lot of times you get companies, they'll have a whole sales force of people, and they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. And Brian and I, we just don't work that way. We've been in business now since about 7 years now. 2018 we launched, and we just take that to heart. Anyone that we sell a product to, again, we want to make sure that it fits with you guys, not just sit here and just sell you something just to sell it. We don't work that way. We never will work that way. And that's why we're here. Our numbers this year are just astronomical. Anything else, Brian?
Yeah, that's about it.
See you in the
next one.
Yeah, take care, guys.